Good morning to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our tropical weather outlook video for today, Thursday, July 10th, 2025. Let's start off with the National Hurricane Center homepage. And of course, right now in the Atlantic, nothing is expected over the next 7 days, which is obviously good. And in the Eastern Pacific, too, nothing is expected over the next 7 days for them there. So let's take a look at the global tropics. I like to do this from time to time using the website from University of Wisconsin, CIMSS, Cooperative Institute for Meteorological Satellite Studies. I love using this map because I also use quite a few resources from here, including stuff like wind shear, Saharan air maps, and vorticity that you see me use from time to time, especially when we are tracking specific features. But they also have this global map that shows things that are happening around the globe, and obviously that is good because obviously, the Atlantic and Eastern Pacific basins are just two basins of the many basins there are in the world, especially the Western Pacific, and during the winter too, we have activity that goes on in the Southern Hemisphere, and I like to show this map from time to time to show when activity is happening then. And the global tropics right now are also very quiet. There is an area of interest here in the Westpac, Invest 93W, although I did take a look at some of the models, and at least long range, some of the European ensembles are showing that some activity might try to get going here in the Westpac, although none of it seems to be related to 93W. And the GFS is showing long range as well, a pretty powerful typhoon developing here. So we'll see if the Westpac maybe produces something interesting over the next several days. But nothing of major note to talk about right now. In the Atlantic, here's a true color shot of the Atlantic, and obviously you could see there is not much happening at all. A little bit of an interesting feature here off the southeast coast, and this was that area that was kind of dilly-dallying around the Bahamas a few days ago, and the models showed a little bit of something that was trying to get going, or at least with the European ensembles, but obviously that has since not materialized, and now we just have a bunch of shower and thunderstorm activity off the southeast coast, and this is probably not going to be of much concern for tropical development at all. And obviously that is a good thing because things are going to remain quiet for the next week. And then out here in the open tropical Atlantic, nothing much. We obviously have lots of Saharan air being pumped off the coast of Africa. As typical for this time of year, we typically see lots of Saharan air keeping things nice and dry. A little bit of an interesting tropical wave here moving off the coast of Africa, though. And there are actually a few tropical waves in here right now throughout the Atlantic, if you can believe it. And actually, I'll show you the map here right now. We obviously have a wave moving off the coast of Africa. And there are actually some few waves. There's actually one here in the Eastern Caribbean. It's just that conditions are so dry that these waves, for the most part, are just dry axes with a small tint of wind in it and not much convection, and that actually happens quite often with tropical waves, and it just goes to show how dry and unfavorable the environment in the Atlantic is right now, that a lot of these tropical waves in here do not even have convection associated with them. They are dry waves, as we like to call them. But we'll see if things change over the next week or a few weeks as we head throughout the rest of this month and into the month of July to see if things become more favorable eventually for Atlantic development. And I'm just really quickly going to bring you here through the GFS over the next week. And nothing of major note happens, at least in the tropical Atlantic. We don't have any development from any of these waves. But you can see here there is some energy off the southeast. I mentioned this yesterday or the day before, that there is indeed a highlighted area by the Climate Prediction Center in about 2 weeks from now that we might have to start watching the Gulf for potential development. Because as I said, it's going to be another one of these frontal systems that are going to try to move off the southeast, and then obviously from the southern end of that front, we'll have some sort of low pressure that cuts off and especially if it finds itself over open water in either the southeast or the Gulf of Mexico, like the Climate Prediction Center indicates, it will try to develop. And as I've also mentioned before, sea surface temperatures in the northern Gulf are very, very warm, and off the southeast too. And we also look for development, climatologically speaking, this time of the year. These are the kind of developments that we have and we look for in July. So we'll see if that does materialize, and you can certainly see there's a lot of energy off the southeast coast. We'll have to monitor, though, over the next several days, does this actually move into the Gulf and become something to watch in the somewhat distant future. But for now, at least over the next week, nothing of major note in the Atlantic. Let's really quickly take a look at the Eastern Pacific, and I'll just really quickly roll you here through the next week. Looks like some sort of piece of energy here that tries to develop. I know a few model runs ago, or at least if you look at the models yesterday, the Eastern Pacific, the GFS was showing something developing in the Eastern Pacific, but not today, it seems. The Eastern Pacific is also quiet for the next week. And as I've been saying, it looks like the Eastern Pacific is also quieting down too. And it's about time, because they've been active in just producing a constant gravy train of storms since the beginning of last month. It was only a matter of time before things were going to quiet down, and it finally looks like we are entering a slumber, or into a slumber, in the Eastern Pacific as well. But how long is that going to last? How long is this slumber in the Atlantic and the Pacific going to last? Well, the question is maybe, or the answer is, not the question is how long is going to last. The answer is maybe not for much longer. Here's an interesting tweet from Ben Knoll. He says that a convective pulse, and he actually tweeted this literally less than a half hour ago, so I'm bringing this fresh right off the press, as he just tweeted this today. A convective pulse is forecast to move across the Atlantic into Africa during late July and early August. And I also showed you the European forecasts, I think, and some other people that mentioned this as well, during late July and early August, potentially bringing the season's first chance for a hurricane. And he's clearly talking about the Atlantic, but you could see here the velocity potential anomalies. And as we head further into the month of July, you could see that this pulse of velocity potential moves across the Pacific, and eventually it moves into the Atlantic as we head into the last week of July, and eventually on into Africa. And maybe that might make things a little bit more convectively active, as these pulses of velocity potential typically do, and makes the atmosphere more favorable for thunderstorms to develop, and also for conditions like wind shear and dry air to go away, and generally make the environment more favorable for development. And this is one of the key signs I like to look at in the long range to see when the next window of opportunity for development in the Atlantic might be. And it looks like we're going to have to watch late July, and we already have the potential area in the Gulf of Mexico that we might need to keep an eye on over the next 2 days. And maybe this might be a sign that as we head into August, things will become more favorable and things will become more active. And as we know, August is the start of the peak of the hurricane season, so lines up pretty decently in timing. And obviously, as this pulse moves through the Pacific, to get to the Atlantic, it has to move into the Pacific first. So maybe as we head into the latter part of July, the Pacific might become a little bit more active once again as well. We'll see, though, but it's only a matter of time before activity starts ramping up. We're only a few weeks away now from the peak of the hurricane season, so it's going to ramp up either way. But for now, things once again remaining quiet, at least for the foreseeable future. That's going to wrap it up for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, as always I say, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And also turn on the notification bell too if you are just subscribed, because I upload these videos every single day, even when we don't have much to talk about. And when we don't have much to talk about, things are pretty quick, like I'm pretty sure they went today. So please, please, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you can get videos the moment I upload them. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Peace, love, and kindness to you all. I'll be back with more tomorrow.